Pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to Super Foam Flying yet again. So, let's go ahead and actually, well, bust something different out here. Yeah, you've been waiting for me to talk about this, haven't you? Well, you know what? I'm glad that I'm doing so because this is, in fact, one of those Ultra Blasters that actually does feature something a little different. Well, it features clip system usage. So, it's a clip system Ultra Blaster, but yet this is certainly not the first example. The first ever example was basically teased at us with the 7 itself. It's also pretty much unknown at this point that the 6 itself also had clip system very similar to what the 7 would have offered. But let's not forget that, well, while the 7 itself was cancelled, this blaster basically came in and took its place. Project Pharaoh, Ultra 9, if you will, the 9th blaster in the Ultra series. But you know what though? Maybe there will be an entire episode dedicated to that one, but let's just go back to the amp, like it says right on here. But you know what? Ultra 10, as it is. As this is in fact the 10th Ultra Blaster that's been released thus far. So, just call it the 10, Hasbro. It's not that hard to do. You already went as far as to having given us the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then basically giving us concepts for an Ultra 6 and Ultra 7. But you basically had them both canceled. In a way, though, you technically brought back what the original concept of the 7 was like, but gave it some notable changes, and therefore turning it into the 9. But in this case, we have ourselves something completely different. The 10, if you will, basically is a clip system Ultra Blaster with a few other things integrated into it. It has a permanent foregrip on it, a stock attachment, so of course you could put a stock on it if you so chose to do so, plus a little sight up here, which unfortunately does not include a reticle, so yeah, you basically see what I'm talking about right there. This clip basically takes 6 Ultra Darts, and I do have a combination of the Screamers, which are blue tipped, plus the original Ultra Darts, which I just simply refer to as Flyers, because technically speaking, let me tell you, there really is a lot riding on this whole entire thing. And I've actually gone as far as to give out some physical inclusion on how, well, simply put, Ultra Darts are actually not inaccurate. I've been bombarded with these kinds of things for a long time now. I am absolutely furious, let down, irritated, and deceived. So, I guess that's just what the end of that's pretty much like. But I guess if there's one big thing out there that seems to put this blaster together in contrast to all the other ones, it's the fact that it includes well, it's motorized, much like with what the Ultra 1 and Ultra 2 were basically like. But because this is the 10th one we got so far, this would have made it 3 in total. With the 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, well, 6 and 7 don't really exist. But the 3, 4, and 5 were non-battery operated. But this would technically be the 3rd Ultra Blaster that's motorized and has been released. So, of course, we've gotten a few other Ultra Blasters since then, and I actually have a few of those other ones. So, I'll be sure to talk about those and the Pharaoh, which, again, is right here. And, well, I guess if there's one other thing I could probably do, it's the fact that, well, time to test fire this thing. Well, right then and there, I will say that this blaster actually does get some pretty good performance on it. For an Ultra Blaster, I really am more than just surprised at the fact that, well, Hasbro really does continue to put so many of these out. I mean, I can hardly keep up myself. mostly because of financial difficulties and all that. But you know what? I guess when the time comes, I will in fact be able to talk a bit more about some of the more recent Ultra Blasters out there. But considering how I've been able to talk a little bit more about this one, I'd say it's pretty much well deserved and a bit of a long time coming, if you will. But in which case, I will say that for something like this, it's got a permanent attachment on top and another one here on the bottom. It's got a 6-dart magazine, or clip if you will. You can put anything on this one tactical rail on top, and then of course you have the ability to put in a stock if you so chose to do so. Plus a few sling attachment points right here and right here. So of course I get to hang this up however I wish to do so. I guess another big thing though that I probably should mention is the fact that, well, normally there's a failsafe that would come in if you accidentally press the second trigger, then well, normally nothing would happen pretty much. The motor wouldn't even run, but yeah, even without a magazine or clip inside, well, it still runs. But, well, I guess it also happens even while this jam door is open. Well, I'm right there. So, all in all, giving this blaster a score is probably going to be pretty straightforward, especially for something that's this good. And as a matter of fact, we pretty much did need something that's this good. Something that could be a little bit more modular would also be okay by this point. And we're more than glad to have had a much bigger rate of Ultra Blasters by this point. So much so that I would actually want to do a bit more than just a tier list. Because even though that's already been taken care of, I guess I just don't really have much else I could point out to this. But anyways, giving this a score is going to be as simple for me. Because with a few attachments that are permanent, that might be one of the things that might hurt its score. And then of course with the usage of a clip system with a 6-dart magazine, could put anything on the tack reel, put anything on the stock. This thing gets some nice performance and has actually been a bit more accurate than ever. So, could be something that Nerf had done with their production of Ultra Blasters, but, well, simply put, this blaster is getting itself an 8.8 out of 10. An official Kaiju Force Neo stamp of ratings is basically just that. Quite a breeze to handle. Pretty lightweight, accessible by any means. A few things probably could have been tweaked here and there, and maybe the score would have been even higher, but I will say it's still a great blaster out there. A great thing to have in your collection by any means. But believe it or not, there actually was a clone that had been made later on in 2021, and that of which was referred to as the Focus. The 13th blaster. 13 Ultra Blasters. If you think that's crazy, then well, I don't know what else is. But I will have to wait a little while before I could talk about that, because let's just say there are plenty of other things that I could in fact spend some time on altogether. But if you want to see more go down on my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.